We just had a lunch and learn the other day, and I wanted to share with you a couple of key takeaways that I had from what we learned from Hartford Funds and the MIT Age Lab. Hartford Funds is cool. They've partnered with what's called the MIT Age Lab, right? And so the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This Age Lab was founded by Dr. Joe Coughlin, and he's an amazing guy. And what they've done is, they've done a huge amount of work to help people understand the phenomenon of aging. They've got suits that you can put on that restrict your movement so that you were like 80 years old or something. So you go to a store and you realize it's really challenging to get this thing from the upper or the lower shelves for yourself. They've got a famous VW bug will slow down your reaction timing as you drive, so you get a sense of what that's like. They've even got cataract glasses to see what it's like to visualize or read with your aging eyes. It's pretty amazing in terms of what they do about that. And some of that could seem kind of dark or whatever, but they also do a lot of psychological work. They look at the process of retirement through the lens of aging. They've actually gone ahead and been able to say, a lot of people are not fully stopping work anymore. They're transitioning into almost like a life 3.0. Where they're doing things that add value to their lives or fill their buckets. In addition to that work, they've then come up with these 4 phases of retirement that I want to talk to you about. The first one is the honeymoon phase, right? And that's, I look at that and we talk about with clients and that's the go-go years. That's when you're excited about the things that you get to do in retirement. The second phase then is the big decisions phase, the big decision phase. And we talk about where will we live? What does that really start to look like? And as I talk to clients, I talk about this as the slow go years. You're not moving around as much. You're actually looking and saying, this is the household, this is the community in which we're going to live, and that decision making as well. Then the third is moving into what I would affectionately call the no-go years, right? And that's really where aging is starting to take its toll, and you need more help. What the MIT Age Lab calls the navigating longevity phase. It's important to be organized at that point. It's important to know who your community is that can help you in different ways. And then for some people, they have the fourth phase, which is the solo journey, right? And the reality is that many people will live alone for a substantial period of time, and it's important to stay connected at that point. It's incredibly important to stay connected. I mean, so much research points to the fact that the people who thrive in retirement are the people who have community around them, and even more so when you're in this solo part of your journey. What's amazing to this too is that we often don't think about just how long those phases are. On average, it's about 8,000 days. Right? And that's a full quarter of our lives now. Retirement is very, very different than it was even 50 years ago. And so those 8,000 days are really, really important for us to think about. It's not something that people tend to think about at all. It's something that people tend to shy away from, but it's important to be able to do that. Some questions that they posed that were really interesting that would be helpful for you to start to think about is, as you age, how will I get an ice cream cone? What is that talking? What is that actually asking? What's your transportation look like? Do you have things that are nearby that you can walk to? Will you be able to drive? Do you need to understand Ubering or those sorts of things? The second question is, how will I change my light bulbs? Which really is then a question of mobility and functionality, right? And if you look around your house right now and you say, oh my gosh, if I was older and was restricted, would I be able to change my light bulbs or not? Do I need some help in that regard? And then the third one is, who will I have lunch with? And that is that community piece. Who are your friends? Who are your neighbors? Who are the people that you want to hang out with and enjoy these phases of life with? And if you're not here yet to face those questions, I get it. We see that quite a bit. And in fact, a lot of people really just want to kick the can down the road when they start to think about aging and what it is. But I will tell you from experience that thinking about these things in advance will pay huge dividends in the future. They're not easy conversations at all, but we need to have those in advance. And honestly, if you've already gone through the honest conversations experience with us at 10 Capital, then you know that we don't shy away from hard questions. We want to know all sorts of things about you and your attitude towards money so that we can help you with a very specific plan and moving you towards, how you approach wealth. Another thing that struck me about this is the need to have those conversations, is that those conversations occur in a variety of different contexts. One is, those conversations can go upward, they can go downward, and they can go across. Well, what do I mean by that? If you talk about an upward conversation about aging, usually that's the adult children who are talking to the parents. And there are questions that we have that we want to know in advance so that we're not surprised by things. You know, things like, what is your financial health? Where do you locate all of your paperwork if we need it? What kind of care do you want to receive? All important questions that go in that upward conversation. Sometimes that conversation comes in a downward fashion, right? So if you're the parent and you want to talk to your adult children and you want to be able to share some of those things, where do you want to live as you continue to age? What is it that you want to do? What kind of care do you want? Those are important questions that often happen in that type of conversation as well. And then one of the things that gets overlooked a lot is this idea of the across conversation. Right? And the across conversation is usually like siblings or relatives in that way. And that is really then talking about who is going to take on what role for our aging parents, right? How will we care for the parents? How is that split up, or is it not split up? Is it just somehow beholden to the person, you know, the child who is nearest in location? How are those things done? And to have those types of conversations in advance so that people don't feel stuck, and especially for those of us who are in what is considered to be the sandwich generation, which means that we're caring for our aging parents, we're also caring for our kids before they leave the house, before they leave the payroll. Those are some of the takeaways that I had out of this that I wanted to share with you. We need to have longevity planners who see the whole picture of aging, that work with healthcare professionals, they work with other people to make sure that that entire whole picture is approached and is actually appreciated. So we can be that resource, whether that's just starting with honest conversations and that experience with us and getting the planning going, and then just walking alongside each other and saying, hey, here are the times where we need to start to have these conversations about aging, and making sure that we're including your entire family tree into that picture so that people aren't caught off guard. They left us with a really great piece of literature, and this is something that we could walk through together if that was something that is interesting to you as well. So it's called the 8,000 Days Workbook, and just a great resource to be able to walk through, not just with your spouse, not just with your parents, but also with your financial advisor. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.